right. Well, I didn't really prepare for this video, so I don't really know. Usually, like, I know a little bit like how my videos are gonna go and what I'm gonna say and a little bit like the format. But I guess this is just a bit of like a real catch-up as to what has been happening and going on. And I think some people are going to be really surprised by this video, and that's a little bit my fault. And I feel like I didn't want to share the news or let people in too much until I'd kind of like gone through my journey. You guys know I'm very open here on my YouTube. I love to share everything that's going on, and I don't think every part of the story will be a surprise. I think we should just kind of get into the topic of what we're going to be looking at today. It's very bittersweet, this video, and it's been 4 years in the making. And the video today is about Emporio. So you guys have seen him from the very, very beginning, from me going to shop for my very first PRE horse. I just kind of moved fresh out of Australia into the Netherlands, and I was looking for a second horse to ride, to start a partnership with. And after looking for a very, very, very long time, I found Emporio, and he was the first horse I ever flew out to see in Spain. And I actually had a whole day planned of horses to go see that day. But once I saw Emporio, he was the first horse I saw. And I was working with an agent at the time, and I said, okay, please cancel all the others. We're going to do the vet check for this horse, and this is my horse. I found him. I found him, he found me, and I knew straight away. And I bought him when he was a 3-year-old. And we've shared so much of my recent years together for the past 6-7 years. We have been in this kind of incredible partnership. He's taken me from being a very, very amateur rider to still being an amateur rider, but I was able to ride my first Prix St. George with him. I was able to train most of the Grand Prix on him. He's the most willing horse. He's got the most trainable character. He wants to give you 120% every single time. But the thing we've realized is that his body just can't do that. You guys saw that about 4 years ago, I made a video where my horse started to just stand very strange. Something was not going right. And I kind of brought you guys on that whole process, the diagnosis with the vet, the injury that he had. And we've been kind of on this like 4-year mission to get him right through the team at 𝒋𝒏𝒆𝒚, who has gone above and beyond to kind of get as best of an understanding as to what's going on. We did a full bone scan, which meant full sedation. After the bone scan, we also later on, 2 years later, did a full CT of the whole body. Again, he had to go under full sedation for that. And we have been treating the areas that needed extra support. And bit by bit, as it goes with horse medicine, you start treating every year, then you start treating every 8 months, then you start treating every 6 months, then every 3 months, until the medication no longer works. And I've kind of like adapted my training program accordingly. So we've really cut back on how much he was doing, how much we were training. That's why you guys have also not really seen us compete anymore, because I wasn't comfortable pushing him and having him at that level. I really needed to listen to my vet's advice. And I mean, throughout this whole process, the advice has been to keep him in motion and in work for as long as possible, because that's good for him and good for his recovery. But we're just getting to the stage now where that's no longer possible. And when I say we're getting to that stage, it's been like a 4-year, it's been 4 years in the making that it's gotten to this stage. It's not that I woke up one day and I just couldn't ride my horse anymore. And I think that's been one of like it's been like a double-edged sword, because it's given me 4 years to process the fact that I have to, at this point, retire him. Which is something I never thought I would say. But these 4 years have also been very difficult, because it's been 4 years of like getting hope, losing hope, getting hope, losing hope. It's been quite tough, but I've explored every single possible avenue, whether it's like through 𝒋𝒏𝒆𝒚, holistic, every single possible avenue for this horse I have explored. We've put in a lot of resources into making sure we had all the facts, and we do now. I don't want to get too much into like the actual diagnosis of the injury and all that kind of stuff, just because there's a lot of people that mean well online, but there's a lot of people that want to share their opinion, people that have no credentials, that want to give their say on something. And I think some things are best left private, because to be honest, that is irrelevant, the exact injury he has. But obviously you guys have seen he's been on and off of work. He's happy. But we're just getting to the point where I told my vets from the very beginning, you know, we need to have open communication. And the point where working him is no longer helping, it doesn't matter. For me, it's not about having him as this working machine and otherwise he serves no purpose. And we're very lucky now, especially with the setup that we have now, that I can offer him something else other than like living the life of a sport horse. This is something that previously we couldn't do. You guys saw with Sereno, we had no idea that we were going to buy this place, and we were only renting a sports stable, and a sports stable is no place for a retired horse. So now with Emporio, we've come to the general consensus through various vets, myself, talking to 𝒋𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒐𝒘, talking to my trainer, just talking to everybody, and everybody being aware of the situation, that it's just getting to the point now where we just have to give him his retirement. And it's something that's really difficult for me, but it's something that is what's in the best interest of him. And I would like to, in my head, fantasize and romanticize the idea that I'll still be able to train him lightly and go for hacks and live an easy life, but I don't think that's going to be possible. I just don't think, from the conversations I've had, that doesn't seem like an option. It just seems like he's going to be just enjoying his life in the field, and we're going to have him just live as a horse. Still in our family, but as a horse. So I've been kind of getting used to that idea. I think you guys will see I'm a little bit like, it's been just very difficult to wrap my head around it, so I'm a little bit like non-emotional about it, but I had a moment like 2 weeks ago where like, because the last 4 years I was like, okay, but there's another solution, okay, but there's more research we can do, okay, but there's something else we can look into. And I had a moment like 2 weeks ago where I was at the stables and it all just hit me and I had a full meltdown. Luckily I was alone, but it happened. And then I called 𝒋𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒐𝒘 on the way home, and it was just this whole, it just all hit me that like I've lost my horse in that way. Like that's not going to be our future. Our partnership in terms of the riding will not be able to go further, and he wants to do it all, but he just can't. So that realization is something that kind of hit me around 2 weeks ago. So that's why about 2 weeks ago, I moved him from the stables where he was at and I brought him home. And I thought, okay, you know, if you're going to be retired, then you're going to be home with me, and I'm going to be able to look after you every day and give you a life in the field 24/7 and really kind of aim towards that way of being. But I kind of quickly figured out that Emporio out of work, and 24/7 out here with Annie, who's 𝒋𝒍𝒍𝒐𝒘's mare, who's 24/7 in heat if she's around, a stallion, it wasn't going to work. He just was getting stressed and he was pacing, which he's never done. And I just thought to myself, you know, okay, well, it's just the best thing to do for his quality of life moving forward is castration. That's going to be the best thing, because he is 10 years old. There is a much higher risk of complications, of bleedings, also of certain behaviors not changing because it's learned behavior, some things at this point. But because he is a very sweet stallion, he's always been very manageable. I think the castration will level him out enough to just be able to really enjoy his life here rather than living a stressed life. And this is something that I've always championed through what I do with my stallions, is the moment that them being a stallion takes away from their quality of life. I mean, of course, a stallion's life will always be different to a gelding's, but the moment it's severely impacting their quality of life, I will not hesitate in a second to castrate. So that's what's going to be happening. I am castrating Emporio, and hopefully this will lead to a different road for him, which was not planned for, but might be the best outcome in the end in terms of the next 10 years or 15 years of his life. He's only 10. This is what just staggers me. I'm like, I've got my dream horse sitting in that stable. He's only 10. He wants to do it all. He's like chomping at the bit in the stable, like, get me out of here, ride me. He wants to play with me when I'm around him, and he's looking for that, and we just can't do it. And I just don't, it's so difficult to wrap my head around that. And the reason why I haven't said anything or maybe shared the severity of it online yet is because there was part of me that was always like, but it will get better. So I'm like, there's no point having that conversation because maybe in 6 months he's back to normal. I had this hope, I guess, and I was like, I'm not going to put it out into the world until I'm 100% certain, because I always saw like an opening, and right now in that way there is no longer an opening, which has been difficult. But as I said, the 4-year process has kind of like softened the blow. Even though it's made the 4 years quite challenging, it has softened the blow. Like if I woke up and there was like this extreme injury that was so severe, like a broken leg or something, it would have been a different story. But I hope you guys can understand why I've kept that a little bit more quiet, just because it's been such a gray area for so long. I've decided to go with a local vet because I didn't want to have to, like, 𝒋𝒐𝒏𝒆𝒚 is 3 hours from where I live, and I didn't want him to travel for so long after surgery. So I've opted to just go for a local vet, which we know has done horses of friends of ours that castrations, and it's gone very well, and they have a good team. So I have decided to opt for a local one. It's booked in for a couple of days' time. The recovery will be a little bit more intense than usual. He also has to be fully sedated, and it has to be done on the table, as opposed to when you castrate younger horses, which can be done standing up, not under full anesthetic. But that's just due to the fact that he's much older and much more developed. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, and hopefully that will all be going okay. I have castrated quite a few horses in the past, especially the sales horses, because clients often wanted them castrated. It is a pretty somewhat straightforward process. You start to see kind of the results of the castration and the behavioral changes somewhere 3 to 6 months down the line, because it takes quite a long time for the hormones to balance out and to be able to kind of like bring those levels down. So it does take quite a while. There's no guarantee on exactly what those behavioral changes will be, but I've never seen a stallion that does not improve from a castration. I do have, now the conversation of like semen and selling semen is something that maybe some of you guys are thinking about, and I have so far only bred my own foal. I have a very long list of other people. I've mentioned this before. I have a long list, and if you've emailed me, you know this. I have a long list of people who are on the waiting list, but I've decided not to release semen as of yet to anyone because I didn't know with this injury how things were going to go. I didn't want to perhaps sell irresponsibly semen from a horse that was injured, even though from conversations with my vets, they said that that's not really a problem, because it's not something that is passed on or something like that. It's just like an injury. It can happen to any horse. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. There will not be any semen being sold from him. I'm keeping the remainder for myself. And anybody who's on the list, unfortunately, I will not be able to provide you with semen, but I will have some sort of general email go out for those people who are waiting. It's just not how I planned things to go, but that's how it is with horses. It's kind of like, and in life, it's just, sometimes some things work out and are for the long term, and some journeys are shorter. Luckily, he's still here with us. So that's kind of like a positive. And I hope this new lease on life with the castration will help. But it's very unfortunate. It's just not how things were supposed to go. So we will see. At this point, his quality of life just without the riding is okay. There is some pain he's in, which he's medicated for. So it's also not the most ideal situation like that, but it's manageable at this moment. With his medication, he's happy. So we're kind of doing all the best things we can in order to make sure that he lives a good life. And castration, I think, will be the next big step. I hope you guys were able to follow all of that. And yeah, we're just gonna see how what more is there to say? I mean, it's just so awful, but we're gonna see how the castration goes, how he recovers, bringing him back home again. And I hope that in a couple of months we have a happy gelding, which is gonna be odd because I've only ever known him as a stallion, and I feel like that's been such a big part of his personality and how I see him. But this will be the right thing to do. So I hope you guys understand why I kind of kept this to myself for a little while. And yeah, we're gonna kind of go through these next steps together. I don't know how it's gonna be, how it's gonna go, but we will find out. So in a few days, we're gonna be bringing him to the vets for the castration.